Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Kool-Aid Podcast. Welcome back to another episode, episode 11, season 3. And today we're going to be talking about Gavi's, first of all, Gavi's wonderful performance against Norway. He is looking better and better and more mature by the day. We're also going to talk about how this Barca squad is scoring up in the upcoming weeks with how many injuries we've been having. And we'll cover in some other topics, but like like we always say, follow us on all our platforms that are posted below in the description. And if you guys want to come in and chip in any information, feel free to join the live stream. But without further ado, here are my guests, Elias and Alex. Say what's up, guys.
Hey guys,
What's
how's it
up?
going?
And yeah, let's start talking about Gavi's great performance against Norway. We see that he has taken over little by little in the Barca
Yeah,
squad as a
yeah.
pivotal part of the midfield
In the
with
ESTA
Pedri
region.
out.
And
But
just the and just the region is what freaking Alex is saying.
but
But
yeah, no, go ahead, go off.
well, I just want to talk about Gavi because he scored the winning goal for Spain, and it's funny to think about that how Gavi is criticized when he's wearing the Barcelona shirt, but when he's wearing the Spain jersey, you don't see that much criticism, especially coming from Madrid fans. Um, One of the things I also would like to mention is like, hey, this kid is 19 years old, and he is showing such amazing talent on the field, and that's something that we should praise. And but one of the questions I wanted to pose to you guys is, hey, who's more important for the both the national team and Barcelona at this point in time, Gavi or Pedri?
Before we answer that question, where you were saying that it's kind of funny how people hate on Gavi at Barca and not at Spain. It's kind of like once when there's two clubs within one nation, obviously people are gonna hate on the clubs, especially a rivalry like Barca and Madrid. All Madrid fans are gonna call Gavi trash. We can all call hypothetically Bellingham overrated. No, no, we're not saying that. We're saying like an example of like talking trash. But at the end of the day, when it comes time for the national team, we're all rooting for the same players. We've all rooted for Sergio Ramos in the national team. They have rooted for Puyol in the national team. So in this case, he's gonna get shit because Barca's Barca and Barca has a lot of haters, especially for Madrid. So he's gonna get shit when he's playing for Barca. But in Spain, I mean, Spain isn't Spain compared to some other big national teams like France and England. They're not in that pivotal spotlight that those other teams are in. So I feel like that's just a little bit of pressure away from Gavi, in my opinion. But answering your question regarding Gavi and Pedri, that is a very
Yeah, I
hot
mean,
topic.
it's a very like
Because
it's a juicy debate because like people are on both aisles. Like people can say, hey, Pedri's more important, but Gavi's more important. You know, obviously.
yeah, I mean,
But just like circling back and just like quickly just talking about before giving you back a mic. The only time I can like picture, hey, this like Madrid clash / Barca clash on the national team, you would have to go back to, for example, when England had the likes of Steven Gerrard, Paul Scholes, Lampard, all these players who played for big clubs in the Premier League, and how they managed it. That's the only time I can see that like fierce rivalry in football.
Well, I mean, sorry to interrupt you, but you also have the golden generation in Spain. You have
Yeah,
players like Sergio Ramos, Iker
yeah,
Casillas, Carles Puyol, Xavi Alonso, Iniesta, Xavi. You have players that were. I mean, that team. A lot of people will say that team was Barcelona, but that team also had a lot of important Madrid players,
that's
yeah.
exactly what I'm
and
saying. Like
it was a Madrid Barca squad at the end of the day.
Gavi won't get all that hate in Spain because the Madrid fans that hate him also love Spain as a national team,
Yeah.
so they're forced to root for him.
Um,
So
Well, I just like
well,
to say before I go and answer the question, there is no we when supporting Spain. The team I support is San Marino. Uh,
facts,
so you guys better not
fire,
hop on the bandwagon when they
fire.
win the next Euros. Um, but yeah, no,
will they even qualify for the Euros?
I'm sorry.
Will they even qualify for the Euros?
Gotta stay
Maybe
positive.
if I play for them, maybe. Um,
Gotta stay positive.
no, but in all seriousness, sorry to interrupt Elias real quick, but I just wanted to
Nah, go
say,
for it.
um, I think Gavi's been phenomenal for Spain, especially when you consider his performances in the previous World Cup
Yeah.
and well, in a lot of the friendlies they played, he's been solid. I don't really think you can compare Pedri and Gavi just because they bring uh they bring a different utility to the team,
Yeah.
right? Pedri is
They
more of your yeah. No, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
No, no, they are different players. Like I'm not comparing them as a player because I think when you compare them as a player, you can't really have a comparison because it's clear to see that Pedri is the more talented player, and I think none of us disagree with that
Right, right.
statement.
And even with or without the talent, he has a different role for the team, right?
Yeah,
He's the one that strings the passes together, pulls the strings in the midfield, sets the excuse me, sets the pace of the game, um, which is something really unique for him, right? On the other hand, you have Gavi. Gavi is an interesting player because
yeah,
I don't think there's a lot of midfielders like him in the current game. Because he plays a little bit of everything, right? We've seen him
yeah.
even play CDM at times. He can I know it's not really how it works, but he almost has like a free role in that midfield, right? We see him, all over the place, winning the ball back. But we also see a lot of really good build-up play for him, some really good passes, and he scores when you need him to. He's a
Yeah.
player that's not
Look,
scared to get in the box and
look,
take a shot or two. So
his play tactic of free roaming, like you mentioned, obviously, like we've seen, and
I wouldn't. Sorry to interrupt, but I don't know if I would call it free roaming because that's a little more. Um, I would say a little more complex for a midfielder because you do
Yeah.
have to.
I mean, yeah,
If
you do
it's
have to defend, attack,
right, right,
etc.
right. So if you're more of
no,
a
look,
winger,
in the sense of free roaming, let me explain what I mean. We see that he's either playing you almost as a left winger, and then he's dropping back almost as a CDM. So
yeah,
that's what I mean in free roaming. But early in his career, and what has gotten him a lot of hate is his aggressiveness
Yeah,
as a player, and obviously all the yellow cards and
yeah,
stuff like that. But little by little, we're noticing that he's able to mature more as a player, and that aggressiveness is actually working in his favor.
yeah,
He's not the same crazy kid that's getting a yellow card in the first 25
yeah,
minutes of the game. And if he continues to mature, that aggressiveness is going to turn into class.
yeah.
And he's showing it right now. He's given the keys to the midfield with Pedri out,
Mhm.
and he's becoming a mainstay.
I would say that he's been our best player so far in the
Yes,
absence of Pedri and Frankie de Jong. And even then,
yes,
I would say he's been one of the most important players on the midfield. And it's funny because we mentioned this before, how we were having the discussion. Hey, who's going to be starting in that midfield? Is Pedri going to be starting at all? Like a lot of us said, like, hey, the player who would be dropped from that four-man midfield would be Gavi, and it turns out to be the complete opposite case. Um, and
right
something
now,
additional.
I have a question
What
for you.
happened?
I
Yeah.
have a question for you. I understand that Gundogan is not he's not really that traditional pivot. He's not really a pivot. We know that Frankie once was a pivot in the
Mm.
works. He's no longer a pivot. Will you be comfortable running out a former midfield with everybody healthy of Gundogan, Frankie, Pedri, and Gavi?
With that midfield, no, because I once because Gavi he's shown his best level when he's part of that three. Frankie
mm,
de Jong has shown his best level when he has Ordermill by his side, when he's not the sole pivot. And when you have that four-man midfield, you're basically, not getting the best out of every single midfielder, for example. Gundogan, you don't want him to be basically that secondary DM. You want him to be advanced. You want to be basically like in that Pedri role because you want him to be getting the goals. And that's where you've seen the best of Gundogan. And then you also don't want Pedri to be, for example, back and then trying to recover the ball. And so when I look at that
But
midfield,
with that being said, don't you think that Xavi could probably, because we see how strong Frankie is defensively,
yeah, I mean, yeah, but like you want Arthur Melo to be the one doing those defensive
and that's what
duties
I'm saying. That because I'm not saying
on
strategically.
paper.
On paper, our best midfield is what I just mentioned. Don't you think
well, what's our
that
best midfield on paper?
everyone except Odogamel
Oh, yeah,
on paper? I'm not saying strategically. I'm saying on paper.
I mean,
So
because Romeo has been class this season.
yeah.
yeah, I mean,
But I also think it's
obviously,
depending on the type of opponent that we play.
and
If we're playing
depending.
against Madrid, we're not rocking with
No,
Pedri, Gavi, Frankie
no,
de Jong
and
midfield.
it's also depending on if we're playing wingers or not. Because if we play wingers, we're not running a former midfield. So I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
But I also wanted to mention this point that something is that Gavi's not only that aggressiveness, that physical nature. He's also shown tremendous talent on the ball.
Oh yeah,
He gets goals, he gets assists.
and then that's what I was. I'm sorry to interrupt, but that's what I was alluding to earlier. I was
Yeah.
mentioning Gavi's a very technical player. As much
Mhm.
as people like to ignore it because of his more brute side, um, Gavi's a very
Yeah.
good passer. He can
Yeah.
give you assists, and I've seen him have some exceptional build-up play. I've seen him also get into very good scoring positions. And earlier I said Iniesta region. Obviously, he lacks a lot of the technical ability and the skill. You can't compare the two. At least not
Yeah.
in this stage in his career. I don't know if ever. But the reason I compared him was in the sense that Iniesta did everything in that midfield. He
Yeah.
won the ball back. He, orchestrated passes. He was able to get into scoring positions and get the goals when needed. And I mean in that sense, I refer more to the versatility
Yeah.
of Gavi. And that's what I think he takes from Iniesta's game in some aspects, right? I'm not saying,
Yeah.
Gavi's Iniesta. I don't think we're gonna have an Iniesta for a very long time.
And what I don't like is that a lot of a lot of Barcelona fans have fallen into the trap saying that Gavi's overrated. Especially when you have to
No,
take in mind that this kid is 19 years old. He's gotten 25 caps for the Spanish national team at 19 years of age.
that's insane.
And when you
that, that,
compare
that,
it to other
that
players, for
that's
example,
always
the only player that has reached like anywhere near that is Pele with 18 at that age. You
that's
had
all
Messi with 10,
that's always
and
gonna happen.
the list goes down.
That's always gonna happen when you're placing it in a club of this level and you don't perform right away the way they're expected to perform. I mean,
No, but I mean, Gavi's performed. He's basically 17.
no, no,
But this
no,
is like
no.
the propaganda from like the Madrid media and saying like, "Hey, Jude Bellingham is better. Camavinga is better.
Okay, look,
Musiala is better."
I'm gonna say a couple things about. I don't like talking about Madrid players, but I do have to say my piece real quick. Bellingham has been good, but he's a tapping merchant. I don't care who I'm pissing off with this. He's a tapping merchant. I really don't care.
No, it's true.
And that's
Um,
Madrid's flaw for not getting a striker.
Jamal Musiala is clear of Jude Bellingham. You
Yeah.
heard it here first.
Bro, I mean, like,
Second.
what do you expect? Jude Bellingham is playing as a striker. If you're playing as a striker
But
for
look,
Madrid,
but
you're expected to get goals.
that's
Like, he's
Madrid's
not playing
fault.
as like
That's
a CDM.
My
that's
my
Ma-
other and
that's Madrid's fault.
my other fact. Yes, Camavinga is a very versatile player, but as a midfielder, I think he still has a lot to. He leaves a lot to be decided. I thought he was better for Madrid as a left back, and that's no disrespect to him. I know he's a very talented and good player, but he hasn't really surprised me as a midfielder. I think if anything, he's been a little overrated.
Uh-huh. But
And
I just
it's just propaganda, when you have it's just it goes back to the whole Messi and Ronaldo thing. When you have a player that's better or a player that, Barca has that's really good, Madrid is always going to find a way to compare and say, our guys are better. Realistically, Madrid's midfield, their new midfield, and I'm mainly referring to Tchouameni, Bellingham, and I mean, if you can even consider Bellingham a midfielder anymore, and Camavinga, and we'll see this again in the Clásico. Assuming we have most of our midfield healthy, they're not going to be able to compete. They never do. Madrid's midfield never dominates Barca's.
okay.
And look, but Bellingham's value is quickly going to start going down if Madrid doesn't get a striker, because Madrid's number one priority should be a striker in the winter transfer window.
Yeah, I mean,
Bellingham
really,
is
I don't. You don't trust Joselu?
dude,
Joselu, the Lu, the
dude.
Lu.
Bellingham can play in striker. It's kind of sad to see. So
Okay. Wait, but we basically haven't had the.
Eventually, all those tap-ins are gonna run out, and he's gonna be
No.
seen as a crappy player because he's playing out of position. So
Yeah. But we haven't really touched upon the topic of, hey, who's more important to the squad? I mean, to both the national team and the club team, Barcelona. Pedri or Gavi? Who's more important? I'm gonna give my thoughts after I hear both of your guys, or do you guys want to hear my thoughts first?
Yeah, I want to hear what you had to say. This is gonna be interesting.
Okay. As I mentioned before, I think the technical quality and the individual talent from Pedri surpasses that of Gavi. I don't think it's extreme or anything like that. It's like a complete difference of players, but you can clearly tell that Pedri is the most more talented player. But I would say that Gavi is more important to both Spain and Barcelona because he's fit, because he's available for the majority of the games. Um, he is scoring, he is assisting, and he's performing at an extremely high level. He's being important for both teams. I would much rather have a player like Gavi who gives everything, runs his heart out and shows passion for the club, than a player who is better but is injured every season for 3 to 4 months.
So what I'm hearing is you prefer consistency over. Well, I mean, I don't know if the right word is consistency. Well, yeah, you prefer availability and consistency over sporadic talent.
I, I am in agreement with that. But for example, Gavi is also extremely talented. The guy is 19, playing, already having
No, no,
25
no.
appearances on the belt and more than
And
100 caps for Barcelona.
right now,
Like
and listen, I agree with
scoring
you.
and assisting.
I honestly think in recent times, Gavi has been the most important player between the two, just because of what you're saying. Right, he's available. He may not do everything Pedri can do as well as him, but when you need him to, score, play decent, get the ball back, he does. And it's what you're saying. He plays for the badge. And I'm not saying Pedri doesn't do that.
Yeah.
Don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying Pedri's a phenomenal player, but he's just not there, right? And it's
Yeah,
just what you're saying.
he's not
He's
there.
an amazing player, very talented. He's got everything you want in a midfielder, but he lacks that, right? He lacks the playing time. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying he's injured every day or not nothing like that. I'm just saying, and I agree 100% what you said. He's always absent, and you can make this argument for other players in Barcelona, especially Uruguayan center backs. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, guys, we are going to be
yeah,
making a video talking about like the international roundup, and then we are going to be touching about on Ronald Araujo because, guys, Ronald Araujo has played his first game for Uruguay since April. So
yeah,
that's been a long time. His first start in Uruguay. But Alex, sorry to cut you off. So
no, no, no,
you're in agreement. Gavi's more
yeah.
important.
I have to. I think. Listen, and I'm not saying Gavi's better because like I think we all agree Pedri is the better player. He's more talented, and I think when he's healthy, he can bring more stuff to the table. But the issue is, can he even come to the table, right? That's where I think that the issue lies. Is not so much, Gavi's better, but Gavi is more important because he's there and he plays well. He does good for the club and he's a consistent player.
Yeah.
Every now and then he'll have a mediocre game, but so does everyone. But when he's on, I think most games he's on, he can score, he can give assists, and look what he's doing for Spain.
Yeah.
Not even considering Barcelona. So again, I think there's a lot for us to consider here, and there's a lot of stuff that we got to look at when saying Pedri is better than Gavi. Yeah, Pedri might be better than Gavi, but he's just not there.
Yeah.
Look, no, look, look. Their play styles are very, very, very different, right? Pedri runs the midfield, and at some points, we say this a lot about great midfielders. At some points, you don't even see him in the game because he's part of the game. We know
Yeah.
that phrase. Gavi is very noticeable throughout the game, but
She
he's
is.
very noticeable in different areas. Like you said, he will track back from all the way from the corner flag of the offense to the corner flag of the defense to tackle a guy that's running on a 1v1.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect. He's got the pace because he will play you 90 minutes continuously with the
Yeah.
same energy.
No. And
Hopefully,
that's super impressive. That's super
hopefully,
impressive.
hopefully we don't see him pull a Pedri and get injured significantly from here on out.
God
Yeah.
willing.
But he has some offensive upside. He has been very good on the ball. He's doing a good job with the midfield. And again, I really like you guys. I really, really, really value availability. I would rather have in my team a player that's slightly, not even slightly, that is visually worse than another player. Even though he's still a very, very good player, he's not as good as another player, but he will play you
No.
with more heart/intensity and will be there for you 99% of the time.
Guys,
Yeah.
chill. This is giving me hope on making it to Barca.
So I mean, and look, we could very well have this. This is a very hot take. We could very well have the next Xavi, Iniesta, and Pedri and Gavi. but we need Pedri's
Mm.
consistency and Gavi. And this is a good problem to have.
Yeah.
We used to say, "Then we have Pedri. Hopefully, Gavi catches up." Now we're saying we have Gavi. Hopefully, Pedri can find consistency. So now we know the talent is there for the two of them. Now we
Yeah.
need to see how long can they play together. And
Yeah.
and this is good when you have depth in the midfield. You can rest Pedri a little more. You're still gonna
Mhm.
get results without Pedri. So I mean, it's a good problem to have.
But our midfield is still lacking. Our midfield is still lacking.
Yeah.
But now, guys, moving on to we gave praise. We talk about Gavi in length and in detail. But I also wanted to talk about now about Joao Felix, because Joao Felix, he has performed well. Portugal, they actually played against Bosnia,
And Herzegovina.
Herzegovina. It's always a mouthful to
You
pronounce.
butcher the shit out of
I
that.
butchered it. I butchered it. But Joao Felix, he basically scored a goal, assisted, and he basically won a penalty for that, for Portugal. And I wanted to bring this up because rumors were coming out that Atletico Madrid were going to be asking for 80 million euros in order for Barcelona to keep Joao Felix.
They can keep him. He can
That's
go
a
for
lot
10
of money
carriers
for
a
a
ball.
player, bro.
Take him.
I mean, for 80 million euros, that is the price tag that
Don't worry,
Atletico Madrid.
we'll loan him out next year again. It's fine. We'll get back on loan next year.
That's insane.
That's
Listen,
And
a lot of
talking
money, bro.
and talking about that, they were, Barcelona was looking at like, hey, Barcelona's not going to be paying 80 million euros, and we all of us know this. And so, what other viable options are there? And there was some talk of saying like, hey, we get Joao Felix on another loan, and maybe towards after that, we buy him for 40 million euros. But these are just ideas that are being thrown, and I wanted to basically ask you guys: will Joao Felix stay at the club?
I think if it's up to him, he will. And I think up to if money isn't an issue, I think everyone, if he keeps playing the way he's playing, assuming today is the end of the season and we have to decide now, considering what he's done, I feel like every fan, I mean most fans at least, and
Yeah,
himself, he want to stay. Everyone will want for him to stay. Um, but I just don't think for 80 million that's a smart idea, just because it's 80 million. Um,
yeah,
and
Bro,
but Barcelona,
80 million is big boy money, bro.
and don't get
That
me
is
wrong, Joao
that's
Felix is a great
crazy.
player, but he's not worth 80 million right now. Even if he has a great season, I don't think he's worth 80 million.
It's not.
yeah.
It's not.
One, Barcelona don't have that kind of money.
Right.
Two,
Even if they did,
Barcelona, they need to spend that money on different positions because
right.
rumors were coming out that this is going to be the last season of both Sergio Roberto and Marcos Alonso. Praise the Lord. But that means we need new fullbacks,
I
guys.
used
We
to
need
pray
new
for times
fullbacks.
like this.
We need new fullbacks. And so, whatever money that Barcelona's going to be having towards the end of the summer, we can't
Yo,
be splashing out on one player.
I have a hard time believing that Barcelona also have a mediocrely young player that plays right back in their system, bro.
Well, Alex
Yeah, you do.
Valle.
You do.
I
Alex, go.
Alex go. Well, I mean, Alex Valle is actually a Barcelona athletic player who has been recently loaned out to Levante, and he's been having a good season for them. He's a left back, and so Xavi has been keeping an eye on him. But for example, do you want to have a 19-year-old as your backup left back? Because, for example, Balde is currently out injured. And Balde has been one of the best left backs in the world at the moment. And so, what type of fullback are you going to bring in? Because we saw this when Jordi Alba was at the club. You need a player that's going to push Balde, and be competitive, but also for them to know, like, hey, you're coming in to be our backup left back. And so, it's difficult to find that balance. It's very tricky.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, talking about this briefly because it's not the main focus of this discussion, but I
Yeah,
think if Barcelona wants to be serious about being dominant again in Europe and building a legacy out of this team. Well, I mean, out of Xavi's, like, right, building a, sorry, I misspoke, a dynasty
yeah,
out of Xavi's team. I think it would be very important for them to spend the money wisely, right? Not just, like we're saying, not just splash the money on one player. We've certainly seen these mistakes in the past. We've seen it with Coutinho. We've seen it, excuse me, with players like Arthur, Pjanic. Not that they were expensive, but like, still,
yeah. They weren't smart buys.
they weren't smart buys. And so that's my
No.
point. If you're gonna spend money on Joao Felix, right, who solves you the problem more or less of another goal scorer, a winger / striker,
Yeah.
I would say spend 40 to 50 mil. That's fine. For
And
him,
the
that's
idea
fine.
that I like self like only getting back from another year and then buying it for
I'm
half the
down.
price. That would be look, and
Listen, he's a player
it's
that
sad
wants the club.
Yeah.
that's first of all, yeah, he reduced his salary to like 400,000 a year, something like that, right? Barca.
Yeah, for the entirety of the season,
Yeah.
Joao Felix is going to be paid 400,000 euros. That's actually a bargain because some players are paid that
And look, the thing is,
weekly, and Joao Felix is going
and
to be
look,
earning that in the whole season.
it's sad to see how much money he has stuck to him. That 80 million price tag shows you how highly touted he was from his Benfica days,
Yeah.
and now he's finally playing a similar play style like he was playing over there. That's why he's playing so well.
Yeah.
So let's. I have a hard time believing that Barca won't find a way to try and maybe reduce that without having to loan him for another
Mhm.
year. But it's gonna be interesting because again, Joao, he's not gonna play Atletico Madrid. I'm sure that after this year, Atletico Madrid will try to play him in one of their play
Yeah.
styles. And I'm sorry, but he does not park the bus. So
Yeah.
He doesn't
No, and
want to
on
be
top of that,
fair anymore.
Atletico Madrid they lose leverage
yeah,
because, for example, they want 80 million, and yes, some clubs are willing to pay for that, but Joao Felix only wants Barcelona. He says, "No, I want Barcelona. That's it." And Atletico lose, they lose all leverage because, like, what are you gonna do? You have this player on like extremely high wages, um, and you're losing value. Well, why not sell him for maybe the 30, 40 million and get him off your books rather than have him stay there, an unhappy player, ruining the camp, etc. And a player that's not going to give his all for the team.
Right.
So
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly.
no, it's gonna be that simple. But it's obviously up to Barcelona to see like, hey, how they manage the deal with Atletico Madrid, because I want to give no favors to Atletico Madrid because we spent big money on a couple of their players and they have
A certain
never.
French player.
yes, a certain Frenchie.
Yeah, they have never helped us whatsoever. We've given them Suarez, we've given them David Villa, we've given them Griezmann,
I mean, it's our
Memphis
fault at the end of the day.
Depay. Yeah, I mean it's our fault, but like still, like they've have not made our job any easier. Um, but I'm as you guys have said, Joao Felix has been playing really well. There has been some games where he's ghosted or hasn't been at the level, but overall, if the season ended today, I think the majority of Barcelona fans would say, "Hey, keep him." Um, and I am in agreement. But as I said, we're going to have to see how Barcelona they do. But last topic before we end off the episode, guys, I wanted to mention the thoughts of how Barcelona is going to be lining up for the next couple of games. Because Balde, he's picked up an injury. He's going to be out for 10 to 12 days. And Gavi, he has a knock, but he is available to play. Pedri and Rafinha, they are training with the team and they're coming back. But they're most likely not going to be available for El Clasico. And if they do, they're most likely going to start on the bench. And so, how is Barcelona going to be lining up for these next couple of games? And posing a question for you guys: would you guys rather have Ronald Araujo or Joao Cancelo in that right back spot against Madrid? Because you're going to have Vinicius Jr. bombing, attacking your right back, your right hand side.
Honestly, put Araujo there because that's his father.
Yeah, Elias, you and me talked about this the other day. We were saying that
Yeah.
maybe we have Olio Domeo drop backs to like a third center back so that Araujo
Mm-hmm.
will help out Cancelo, meaning that Cancelo will start at right back.
Yeah.
The safety net is playing Araujo there. I'm just scared for Araujo, man. Like he's put the fans in a spot that we're worried about him playing anything that's too physically demanding.
Yeah.
But the right thing to do is play him at right back. I wouldn't be surprised if Xavi plays Cancelo at right back because Cancelo has been playing well, and then he just hopes that Araujo can back up Cancelo, and then maybe Domel drops back to help out defensively. So I mean, I don't know. I think the right thing is Araujo at right back, but again, I'm shooting breaks
I mean,
because
I mean, like, are you gonna drop Cancelo then? Because realistically, like, if you're gonna have Ordermill drop in, you're basically playing with three center backs. You're gonna be playing with what? Let's say Inigo Martinez, Ordermill, and
and in that case, I wouldn't be
Ronald
surprised
Araujo.
if we run a format midfield. But again, you can't
We
really
don't
run
have the midfielders.
exactly. So
We don't have the midfield. If we drop, we have Ordermill in the defense. Our midfield is gonna be lining up with
Gundogan, Gavi.
Gavi, Gundogan, and
I
what?
don't think they play Joao Felix in the midfield.
Exactly, they're going to play Joao Felix.
Well,
Another
you
option that I was going to pose is like, hey, what happens if we play Joao Cancelo as a winger? Because
he can
Lewandowski and
do it.
Rafinha, they're not going to be starting the game, and so you can have Joao Cancelo as the winger. You play if Baldy's going to be fit for the game against Real Madrid. You play him as the left back. You have Christensen. See, but then who do you play in that right center back position? You can play Inigo Martinez, but
Yo, Inigo Martinez getting the most significant minutes of the season in a Clásico will be hilarious.
well, I mean,
bro.
he is going to get
Okay, but
he's
what
going to
if
get minutes against Athletic Club.
Yeah,
what
but
if
I
you
mean,
play me though?
who?
What do you mean who?
Well, no,
I mean, but Alex,
no,
like
The best center back.
I didn't hear.
wait,
Oh,
yeah,
What did you say?
okay. No, I said me. Why don't we play me at the right center back?
yeah, but this guy gets beat by Alvaro.
Hey,
Nah,
man.
but Alvaro's crazy.
Yo, that's
Alvaro dreams of
I was
dribbling
expecting a
that. He was-
compliment.
Don't worry, Alex, just like you were the only person there.
That's crazy.
But that's an option. Just like possibility, because guys, our squad depth is very low at the moment. It's not looking good. Ideally, the Barcelona squad that we have is what? Ferran Torres, Joao Felix, Lamine Yamal is injured. He has a knock. And so we're gonna be playing with two up top. In the midfield, you're gonna have Gavi, Gundogan, or Romeo. In the defense, you're gonna have Marcos Alonso, Christensen, Araujo, and Cancelo.
Brother, we need Bayern's medical staff now.
Bro,
We gotta get rid of ours.
it's looking shaky. But once again, guys, we are going to be having like a more detailed explanation to this in our preview for El Clasico, and we are going to be giving you guys that video. But that's it for the episode. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. As always, guys, I post the video on both Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and it's also basically on wherever you listen to your podcast format, Google, whichever. It's most likely going to be there. But guys, as always, hopefully you guys enjoyed. As always, like, subscribe, and comment.